As Alan said, I will keep this to 2 minutes. I want to give you a very brief update on the budget. The governor has yet to sign the budget, but there was negotiation between the Assembly and the Senate. One of the tools that the Democratic majority utilized in order to get more of what they wanted in the budget, because the governor's budget projections in January were quite, quote-unquote, conservative. He didn't ask for as much as most people anticipated, and he was quite realistic in what he projected as far as revenue increases, revenue decreases, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things the Democrats in the Assembly and the State Senate utilized to get what they want are spot bills. A spot bill simply has a legislative title, for example, AB 710. It has the title of the legislation itself, or what could be the title, but there's no content. Oftentimes, it's a blank piece of paper. Other times, even though it has a title, a legislative number, there's scant content. It could be about school funding. It will say something to the effect of, there will be an increase for community colleges. That's it, if it says anything. Also with a spot bill, you don't have to release it to the opposite party, in this case to the minority party, I should say, to the Republican Party, until a day or so, sometimes less, prior to the vote. So the minority party may not have the opportunity, once the bill's content has been filled in, to actually read it. There were 39 of those in the State Assembly, 39 budget bills, a total of 73 in the State Senate and the Assembly as a whole. So there were 73 bills pertaining to explaining how they're going to spend our money that were left at best with scant content. That's one of the top tools they've used. With that said, in January, the governor said there will be a $4.6 billion surplus because they have reduced the forecast for state personal income tax revenue by, at this point, $900 million for 2013 and 14, and because they've reduced the state sales tax forecast by $281 million, as well as a few other factors. But because of those reductions, that $4.6 billion surplus for 2013-14, for 2012-13, has been reduced to $2.8 billion. For 2013-14, as it stands at this moment, we will transition from a $2.8 billion surplus to a $1.3 billion deficit. Though we have more revenue coming in, the governor nor the legislature have attempted to address how to give a more stable budgeting process so that we're not at the whim of a volatile stock market, housing boom and busts, et cetera, because they have not addressed that. Next year, next fiscal year, we're looking at yet another yet another deficit. Right now, it's just $1.3 billion. Hopefully, it stays there as opposed to increasing. The reason before I say that, I'll say this. The governor also wanted to pay down what he terms his wall of debt, borrowing from transportation funds. The state typically does that. The Prop 98 minimal guarantee for funding for schools, though it is a guarantee, the state has oftentimes underfunded it. They haven't given what they say is the minimum funding, and on occasion, they've overfunded it, so to speak. But because they've underfunded it, there's back pay that's due schools. There are a variety of things like that that create the wall of debt. The governor said, let's pay down $3.1 billion of that debt. His party said no. They pared it down to $2.4 billion. Assemblyman Wilk is extremely pleased with any payment decreasing the debt. But with the budget having more than $600 million of new spending, and you pare down debt payment, give us some balance. That's no imbalance whatsoever. At the same time, what I was going to say before, recall Prop 30. If you pass Prop 30, there won't be these drastic and dramatic decreases for school funding. Prop 30 passed. Though Prop 30 passed, much, and the exact figure isn't known right now, but much of the new funding that was allegedly going to go to offset decreases for schools or community colleges, universities, will not be going that way. There will be an increase, quote unquote, but it's an increase, in Sacramento terms, this is what an increase is. We're going to decrease it, number one, by this much, now only by this much. That's an increase, because the decrease isn't as much as was first purported. Now, the Republicans said, look, you've passed Prop 30, you're going back on your word, let's at least try to cap tuition and fee increases statewide for University of California system and community colleges. Democrats said no to that. So that bill, AB 67, went nowhere. That's an extremely small snapshot, but I wanted to let you in a little bit more on what's going on with the state budget. More numbers will be revealed soon. As it stands, the Assemblyman is pleased with paying down some debt as opposed to paying down none. The governor has proposed to keep the University of California and the CSU system level with funding. That's better than decreasing the funding. There's no decrease or increase, it's stable. He's pleased with that, but the budget speaks nothing of realignment for prisons and jail systems. There's no rainy day fund. That's why we're looking at a deficit next year. So those things, how can I put this, keep the Assemblyman exercised, so to speak. So there's a little progress, but because the Democrats have a near super majority, they can do what they want. A lot of the progress will come in, and the Assemblyman points this out to me quite often, much of the progress will come in by the Republicans saying, no, we won't stand for this. There will be a lot of party line votes. If there aren't party line votes, state goes downhill, even more so than normal. So that's a very small snapshot. Did I keep it under 2? Did I do it? Will you have me back again? All right, all right.